Requisite. Sabesijonga ke i-customer-based brand equity and brand positioning. Siyakhona ke in studio. Masikubulise Cumani sikwamkele enkqubeni. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon, Thandi. Good afternoon to the listeners as well. Happy Africa Month.
Happy Africa Month.
Yes, yes. That's
Right.
where we are at now.
That's where we are at.
Exactly.
Workers Day, Workers
Yeah, it was a
Space.
super long weekend.
Ne?
That's why.
Yeah.
That's why you are still there.
Okay, xa singena ke, in our conversation for today, mhlawumbe sawuqala ngento yobana sikubuze into yobana exactly what is brand equity and brand positioning, and also yintoni umahluko between these two terms, concepts.
Okay, so customer-based brand equity is the differential effect that brand knowledge has on consumer response to the marketing of that brand.
Okay.
Right, so that's customer-based brand equity. Then brand positioning, Yona, it is the act of designing the company's offer and image so that it occupies a distinct and valued place in the target customers' minds. Right, so brand positioning is more intention. Your company, it's internally designed.
Okay.
Whereas customer-based brand equity is more than the effort that the company has put in and how that is now measured.
Okay.
To put it simply.
Interesting. And abantu abaninzi, when they're starting their businesses, I don't know where along the journey do you become intentional about knowing about how do you position your business to the market? Because when you are entering space of business, generally we are you're still trying to figure yourself out, you're still trying to figure the space out, you're still trying to test things out, you don't really have it cut out, but okay, this is how I actually want to position the company. So what do you think, ifika nini la nto yoba, you know what, now I'm ready to position it? Because I don't think it's really true but uzavele position it from the onset,
Okay, so once we start talking about intentionality of the company for that particular brand, bearing in mind that some companies have a portfolio of brands and products, umzekelo Unilever, SAB. So one would then have to take a step back and first look at the overall vision of the company, right? Where are we taking this company? So now that now speaks to the overall strategy, the overall corporate strategy, which is now playground now, board. That's where a board would have to sit and say, okay, where are we taking this company, both in the short, medium term, and in the long term? Then we would have to now look at values as a company, right? What we value the most as a company. This would now also include the different stakeholders. Your stakeholders will be your employees, it will be your customers, it will be your investors.
Okay.
Then we look at emission statement, company. How are we then going to get to the vision that we want to get to as a company? So once we start talking about intention, we need to go back to basics, and which then speak to the vision, the mission, and the values as a company.
Quite interesting. I think noko ke umuntu athi xa eqala at least ezo areas abe cover their bases on some of those areas. Now practically what would you say goes into developing a customer-based brand equity model? Like yintoni umuntu ekufuneka eyenzile, lo somashishini yintoni ekufuneka eyenzile to ensure that they are able to design this model for their business, this customer-based brand equity model?
Okay, so once we start talking about a customer-based brand equity model, we need to first look at your target audience.
Okay.
Right? Now, once we talk about a target audience, you also have to remember we are also looking at the different segments within that target audience. So the most important step is to understand what your target audience is looking for in the brand. and their behavior towards the brand.
Okay.
Are these people going to buy more when you have a special or when there's a discount, which means they are price elastic?
Okay.
Or are these people not too bothered with a price? They're just brand loyal. As long as the brand is there, it's available, they will
They
buy
take it.
regardless.
Sure.
So that is the starting point. And once you start unpacking a target audience, yako, bearing in mind, I've just said that this is a stakeholder as well, customer yako. Then you'll start seeing some of the nuances within your target audience, how they behave. This is also now looking at age yabo, demographics, because you have to also identify babapi,
Okay.
because that will also now affect their buying patterns as
Okay.
well. So identifying your target audience is a very good starting point, I would say.
And when you're looking at, using this strategy, customer-based brand equity, trying to build that, what are some of the advantages of using a customer-based brand equity kind of a model rather than other models that might be out there?
So practical advantages of using customer-based brand equity include learning advantages. Right? So learning advantages would speak to brand awareness influences, the formation and the strength of the associations that make up the brand image, right? So for example, for the longest time, New Balance was known as a brand that speaks to your serious athletes and your long distance runners,
Okay.
right? Then more recently, you'll notice that they have now tapped into your streetwear culture, your athleisure culture, which then obviously means that they've seen a
shift in the-
yes, Bona, they've seen a shift, right, in consumer taste and preferences.
Sure.
Because remember that this is what Adidas as well has now been focusing on, the athleisure market. So e-learning advantages are very important when it comes to creating the brand image and the brand awareness. So that's the first major advantage. Then the second one would be e-consideration advantages, right?
Okay.
So this speaks to how consumers consider the brand whenever they are making a purchase for which the brand could be acceptable or fulfilling a need that the brand could satisfy, right? So this then goes to, again, brand loyalty. So will a customer be willing to spend an extra 100 Rand on your brand versus a competitor that is right next to your brand that is maybe a bit cheaper? So then again, it goes back to the price elasticity. How responsive are your consumers when it comes to a price? Because obviously that determines how much they are going to buy in terms of a product yako, and how frequently they are going to buy the product. Then the last one would be choice advantages, right? So this is now creating a high level of brand awareness,
Okay.
right? And then this affects choices amongst the brands in their consideration set. So every time a consumer is thinking to buy any product or service, there's normally a consideration set. This
Okay.
is now the different options that the consumer will be willing to look at before they decide to buy whatever it is that they are
That is-
looking to buy,
sure.
right? So obviously that then determines as well in consumption behavior yabo as well. So it becomes now a bit more scientific in a way, because this is where now you would also look at the creative advertising strategies and which firms in terms of your advertisers will speak to your brand and how to convey the message and the positioning of a brand yako. All right.
Wow.
So I would say those are the three major advantages
Sure,
when it
sure.
comes to Ilando's customer-based brand equity.
And when you are, thinking about Abantu, businesses, I think the whole notion of a brand, has come has come a bit later to especially smaller businesses, black-owned businesses. I think even now there's still a little bit of what is this thing all about, ne?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I wanted to ask about, do you think that having a lack of intentionality around your brand, do you think that can actually stifle growth yakho as a business?
It certainly can. Obviously, if you're talking about a big company, such as the one that I made an example of, SAP or Unilever, remember they have a portfolio products. And for each product that is in that portfolio, there's a certain expectation in terms of performance.
Okay.
This is now revenue. And there's a certain commitment that the company has made to that particular brand.
Sure.
Otherwise, it would not feature in that product portfolio. Because I'm sure you remember there was a brand called the Fresca back in the day. It was a soft drink brand. It had the craziest advert. You see now I'm giving away my age. So it had the craziest advert, which is what I would say influenced abantu to try it out. Fresca is no more, right? For whatever reason. So it's so and I would say that also contributed when they started making as a sales and inroads in the soft drinks market. That then obviously had an impact on the bottom line of the owner of that particular brand, right? Now, when it comes to smaller businesses, making sure that a brand yakho is visible and you being intentional about it also goes a long way in terms of how much in terms of a budget are you going to allocate? Yes, are you going to spend? You see, now it speaks to the same question that your big companies would also have.
Okay.
But for you as a small business owner, it's even more important because you are working with limited resources. Unlike big companies who have been around for the longest time, they've got investment strategies, they've got maybe other businesses. I remember we even made an example, McDonald's. Sato McDonald's doesn't only sell fast food, they are in the property business.
Yeah.
You see. So for you now as a small business owner, because of the lack of resources, you now have to be honest with yourself and to be honest with your staff to say, listen, what are we expecting in terms of your return from the product versus what we have invested in this particular brand? So that's I think that answers your question in terms of intentionality.
And how do you think a business can be able to strengthen a brand and make it more well known, make it stronger, if you will?
So to make a brand strong and well known, one needs to carefully develop and implement creative brand strategies.
Okay.
This now again taps into the advertising that you are using, whether you've got a budget for an advertising agency or you are going to strictly rely on social media or word of mouth because of your lack of resources. Now, to assist in that planning, there are 3 interconnected tools that are very helpful in making sure that at least your brand has a certain level of awareness acceptable. So there's the brand positioning model. So this describes how to establish a competitive advantage in the minds of customers in the marketplace. Then we've got a brand resonance model. Right? So this describes how to take these competitive advantages and create intense, active loyalty relationships with customers for that particular brand. Then lastly, we've got your brand value chain model. Right? So this describes how to trace value creation, the value creation process, and to better understand the financial impact of marketing expenditures and investments to create loyal customers and strong brands. So those 3 models, they are interconnected. You can't embark on one without the other. All of them speak to the same thing, which is the overall strength of a brand yakho, the overall awareness that customers have when it comes to your particular brand. And you raised a very good point to say that this is still new, especially to black-owned businesses. And the nice thing is that it also speaks to personal brands, not only your products that will sit on a shelf and wait for someone to walk into the store. Because remember, you as a personal brand as well, you are relying on the perception that your clients or your target audience has of you. That will determine whether they are going to try out your service or not, and that will also determine referrals that you are going to get from whatever engagement that you are having, whether it's a small event or maybe a talk somewhere. So it's very important when you are building a brand to understand and appreciate that those three models, they will always work together. Yeah.
Wow. Cumani, thank you so much for ixesha lakho. That is all we have time for namhlanje. Yes, ngenxa yexesha. Kodwa ke phambi koba ndikuyeke, maybe you can also indicate to us if someone wants to make use of your services, or how can they be able to contact you?
Yes, so for calls and WhatsApp, it is 068 543 8272. And then if you want to send me an email, it is Cumani, that is CUMANI at requisitesba.co.za.
All right.
Thank you very much, Thandi. I appreciate it.
All right. Umphulaphula weVukani Community Radio. That was Cumani Nobongoza. Esincokolela ke kabanzi about customer-based brand equity and brand positioning. I'm sure if lento ye brand is something that mhlambi you didn't really understand before, at least he has tried to assist us by shedding a little bit of light into what it is all about. Right now, umphulaphula weVukani Community Radio makesirobe ngapha kwecala.